We're just about to start laying plastic for the strawberries. Feels like it's about 115 degrees out here with the humidity and the direct sunlight. It's myself, Sammy, Dad's gonna drive the tractor, and Frank. What do you think of it outside right now, Sammy? This plastic is a heavier material, that way it lasts longer because it's going to be sitting in the field now for like 3 years, maybe 4, depending on how good the strawberries do. They're just getting things ready to go. Sammy's at one end of the field, Frank's at the other. Their job is to not only help me start out holding the plastic, but also cover and even out the ends. Then my job on the plastic layer is to manage how much dirt comes on top of the plastic or stays on the side. I can adjust those discs that you see either in or out to cover more or less. I'm actually covering a little heavier than I normally would, but that's only because, like I said, this plastic is going to be in the ground for the next 3 years, and I don't want a lot of rain and wind to lift that plastic out of the ground, and then we have a whole mess we have to start cleaning up. This plastic is going to be here for the rest of the summer. We're going to be looking at it non-stop, obviously every single time we go to the field, and we take a lot of pride in our work. So Dad doesn't even like to turn around to look back and make sure the plastic is either laying right or the drip tape's laying right. That's my job. So you can see he's just focusing forward, making sure he's doing straight rows. I have to not only watch the drip tape, make sure it's not getting bound up or caught on anything, but also the plastic. Obviously, before we get to the field, Dad has already done all the work, getting it tilled up and ready. So that soft dirt gets pushed underneath the layer where it gets compacted, and then, you know, the plastic lays over top and covers it. Then on the outside, you can see that big disc spinning around. That just brings in more dirt so that the back discs can bring that in and cover the edges of the plastic. This is probably one of my most favorite jobs, not only because this piece of equipment is fairly new and we don't get to use it often, but also because it takes Sammy, Frank, myself, and my dad all working together to make sure everything goes perfect. 3 rows down, we're making a drive right now. There's gonna be just about 12 rows all together. There'll be 3, a drive, 6 more, a drive, and then hopefully 3 more after that. It's a lot nicer now because it's not near as dusty as it was a lot earlier in the season when we were doing all the vine crops and the tomatoes and peppers. It's not fun, but sometimes our plastic roll ends in the middle of the field, so we gotta stop and obviously put a new roll in, take the old roll out. It just takes a little more time than when we're at the end of a row, because now we have to feed everything back through underneath the tire. Then I have to get off the planer and hold the plastic while he takes off and starts again. Keep it a little bit tight while I pull it down, I drop it, just watch yourself. Ready? So it's the next day. Today is the day we're gonna start setting up for the Blues Briggs Fest, or Briggs Blues Fest, whatever way you wanna say it. Sammy is actually getting tables off the yellow van right now. We have a lot of stuff to get ready, coolers and fans. We just went and picked up our corn, so we got about 3,000 ears. We're hoping to sell like 2,500, and then we got an extra 500 just for the farm market. Corn is very expensive right now. We ended up paying $8.25 per dozen, just so we have this for the Blues Fest. We don't have our own corn obviously yet. Not really anybody in this general area has it. The feel like temperature is, I think, around 100 degrees right now. Humidity is just insane. You can just stand outside and start sweating. That's how hot it is. We have 2 little Milwaukee battery powered fans we're gonna hang from our tarps. And then we have a big fan right in the barn here, which I'm gonna grab right now. And that helps a lot. There's a lot of wind. Not only does it blow a lot of the heat off the fire away, because I'm gonna be around the fire the whole time, but it also, you know, just cools us down just in general. So this is really nice to have. Where is it is the question though. Oh good, right there. So I gotta move the elevator
this bin and then try and sneak it out through here where Sammy just came in.
Now I'll show you some drone footage around the farm. This 1 acre field is actually about 3/4 of a mile off the farm. Right there you can see Dad dumping some seeds out. He's working on planting pumpkins. Now we're back here to the farm. This is where I spend basically every day of my life. Up top is the plastic of the strawberries that we just laid, then the oats, potatoes, tomatoes, cole crops, then down over that little patch of woods is our onions. I brought the drone down so I can show you up close and explain things a little bit better. You can see the clear color variation between the dark green and the light green. That's the difference between the red and the white potatoes. There is a little more blank spots than I'd probably like to see, but that's kind of expected with all the dry weather we had. Now I'll move on to the tomatoes. The ones up here in the black plastic are the earlier ones that we planted. That's why they're quite a bit bigger than the ones down below in the white plastic. And obviously there's a lot of green between the rows. That's all the weeds growing, but I did just go through and kill all them, so hopefully within the next couple days all those will be brown. Now I'll move up into the plastic that we just laid for the strawberries. We were really hoping to get that 12th row in, but we just couldn't make it happen. We could have put a little piece in, but then we would have had to drive back through our oats, and we just figured there was no point. So we're gonna settle with 11 rows. And like I said, I covered them a little bit heavy, that's why you see the plastic up on top. But with one hard rain, that should wash it off and it should be nice and pretty. Not that it really matters anyway. That little bit of dirt means actually nothing. These are some of our longest rows on the farm, stretching out to just over 1,400 feet. The peppers are looking so much better now compared to what they looked like about a week after we planted them when we had all that dry weather. You'll probably see an empty hole here or there, and that's from the dry weather. We did lose a couple, but it was very few, nothing to really worry about. Here's the ones in the field. You can see all the rocks. Never seems to stop the way they grow though, so don't worry about them. The cole crops are about as nice as they've ever been. Starting from the right, those two light colored rows are our beans, then moves into cauliflower, then cabbage, then broccoli, kohlrabi, collard greens. Then there's a drive road, then over on the left is the pickles, cucumber, zucchini, and then off to the side of that yet is our red beets. Take notice of the pickles, and you will see in a couple seconds here the cantaloupe and watermelon. You'll see some plants that are really big and vined out, and then some are a lot smaller, almost kind of half the size, and that's because of the deer eating them off. Some they ate almost the entire plant, some they just ate a couple vines off, but still it's going to hurt the plant in the long run anyway. We'll see what happens later on in the season if they end up producing anything or not. Last but certainly not least is our onions. We grow yellow onions, white onions, and red onions. There's just about 20,000 onions in this field, and I would say about 3/4 of them were weeded by Frank himself. Strawberries are quite a bit different from everything else that we grow because mostly all of our vegetables we start out from a seed, like our cole crops and our peppers, eggplant, stuff like that. Our potatoes, we start out from a seed, which is a seed potato, and that's just a potato cut in half or in quarters, something like that. But strawberries, we get the bare roots, which hopefully once they come in, I can show you how that process works. The place we get our strawberries from is called Norse Farms in Wadley, Massachusetts. They grow raspberry plants, blueberries, I'm pretty sure, strawberries, obviously, I think asparagus, all that kind of stuff, mostly everything in the fruit category. But they're supposed to have a really good reputation. We've been getting them off of them for years. Now that we got all the plastic laid for the strawberries here behind me, I could calculate exactly how many strawberries we need for the field. Months and months ago, Dad and I had to sit down and figure out how big our field was gonna be and roughly how many strawberries we were gonna have so we can get an order placed. But it wasn't finalized until actually about 2 hours ago when I just called and gave her the exact amount. And so this year's a little bit different. We're gonna plant these 6 rows right here with the water wheel planter, which is gonna be the first time ever in a plug form. And then over here is gonna be all bare root like we usually do, pushing them in by hand. From all the research we've done and actually talking to the owner of Norse Farms, we've figured out that strawberries like to have a very, very wet soaked bed to be planted into, or their chance of surviving is slim to none. And we found that out the hard way when we've planted about 25 to 30,000 plants and only about half of them come up. Then we got to go back through and replant, and then, you know, 1/4 of them died as well. So we even did more research this year. Think we've got it down pat, and hopefully once these plants come in, we're gonna get them in as fast as we can, because those plants are refrigerated from the time they leave their farm to the time they get here, and it's recommended they get into the actual ground within the week after they show up here at my door. And so we'll see what happens this year with the new ideas we have. We're gonna try them out. I think they're gonna work because we've been growing strawberries now for I think around 6 years, something like that. And after years and years of, you know, trial and error, I think this year we finally got it figured out. And the one other thing we're gonna do this year is we're going to put a solar powered fence around this entire strawberry field, because if you've been watching my videos and you know about our strawberry fields from previous in the season, the deer ate about half of that field, which is about 1.5 acres of our strawberries, which was almost a complete loss. That's all gonna be going in and started in about 4 to 5 days, so make sure you stick with me. That's what I'm gonna call it a wrap for this video. As always, thank you guys for watching, and always remember, it ain't much, but it's honest work.